Hey guys, so welcome to take two. If you tried to watch this video before, it cut out at 4 minutes because I accidentally pushed the microphone button and I didn't mean to do that. So we're going to try this again. One method for solving polynomial equations of the form ax squared plus bx plus c. When a does not equal 0, a cannot ever equal 0, otherwise this doesn't work, is to factor the expression and then set each factor equal to 0. And I'm going to show you how to do that. The solutions are the roots of the equation. Now I just want to quickly explain a little bit of terminology. Roots, let's get a pen here. Roots equals, it's the same as zeros, which is also the same as x-intercepts. Okay, so all three of those terms mean the same thing. So if the question asks you to find the roots, if the question asks you to find the zeros, or the question asks you to find the x-intercepts, you are going to do the same thing. Because they all mean the same thing. They just, I don't know why they need 3 words to explain the same thing, but that's how it is in this. The real solutions or real roots of a polynomial equation are the x-intercepts or zeros of the function. Okay, so that just explains that all 3 of those terms are the same. And we're going to see how this works with an actual example. So it's kind of like putting everything together, everything we've done so far together. So here's the example. We're going to consider the polynomial equation x3 plus 2x squared minus 3x equals 0. I'm going to give you a couple strategies on how to do this. We're going to use this strategy to solve the polynomial equation. We're going to factor it and find the roots or the x-intercepts. We're going to write the corresponding polynomial function of the polynomial equation, and then we're going to graph the polynomial function and determine the x-intercepts or zeros. So let's start with A. So the first thing I'm going to do is common factor. And then I'm going to factor further. So the first thing I'm going to do is pull an x out of all of that equation because all those terms have an x in it. So I pull an x out. I'm left with x squared plus 2x minus 3. So if I think about how I'm going to factor the this part of it, I realize that I have to get -3, I can do -3 times 1 or 3 times -1. And I have to pick the combination that's going to give me a +2, so it's this one that I'm going to choose. So I'm going to break this up into those 2 terms. So x plus 3, because it's a +3, x minus 1. Okay, so once you've done that, what you're going to do is you're going to set, this is what I do. I set each one of these equal to 0. Because what happens is if one of these terms is a 0, then the whole thing is going to be 0. And that's really what we're trying to do because we want it to equal 0. So as long as one of them, at least one of them equals 0, the whole thing is going to be 0 and it's going to satisfy our equation. So all I'm going to do is find out what possible numbers does x have to be that the whole thing is going to be 0. And you can do that by finding each of them. So the first one's really easy because it's just x, and anytime x is equal to 0, the whole thing is going to be 0. The second one, x plus 3, I must set it equal to 0. When is this going to be equal to 0? When x is negative 3, because negative 3 plus 3 will equal 0. And the last one, I set x minus 1 equal to 0. And when is that going to be 0? When x is a positive 1. Positive 1 minus 1 equals 0. So any three of those numbers is going to make the whole thing 0, which is what we want, because we want to know when y equals 0, when it's going to cross for those x-intercepts. Okay, so that is part B. Part C asks us to, I'm just going to remind myself, write the corresponding polynomial function for the polynomial equation. Now, if you want to write it in function form, that's writing it with the f of x. And then you can write the exact same thing that we had, x3 minus 2x. I got to remind myself what it was. Plus 2x squared minus 3x. So because you have f of x, you've now put it into function. It's as a polynomial function instead of just an equation. And the last thing, it wanted us to graph it. Okay, so the last question said to graph it. So I just went into Desmos and graphed it. Now, the nice thing you can do, because remember that we had gotten x equals 0, x equals 3, negative 3, and x equals positive 1. That is where we're expecting it to cross the x-axis. And you can see right here is the x equals positive 1. Right here is the x equals 0. And right here is our x equals minus 3. So that's kind of all you do for that. You're just going to factor it as much as you can, set all of those factors equal to 0, and then solve for them. And when you solve for them, you then get your x-intercepts. Lots of the questions are going to ask you stuff like that, determining when you have your zeros or your roots or your x-intercepts. This is how you do it. You're going to use your factoring stuff for it. And I hope I did not it doesn't look like I pushed the microphone button, so hopefully we made it through this time. I'll see you guys later. Bye.